So there's another stunning new revelation in this growing scandal that surrounds the Clinton campaign. This time, reports that the Clinton Foundation failed to disclose 1,100 foreign donors, 1,100 of them. Donors that the organization promised to reveal, because you know they had this deal with the Obama administration that they would be completely above board with everything. That was a condition of her becoming Secretary of State. So all of these reports surfacing ahead of the release of the book, Clinton Cash, which you've heard a lot about here over the last week. And I'm happy to be joined now by the author, Peter Schweizer. Peter, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning. So what's going on with this new revelation of these 1,100 documents?
Well, it fits the pattern that we talk about in the book, is that there was this memorandum of understanding signed with President Obama and his transition team that they would have complete transparency of donors, because this is unprecedented. The Secretary of State and her family getting money for speeches or foundation donations. And what's clear now is we're talking about more than 1,000 contributions from foreign nationals that were never disclosed. And this is a huge issue. You also had a report today out of India. Amar Singh, I talk about this in the book, Amar Singh, an Indian member of parliament who is listed as a donor for between $1 and $5 million. He says it wasn't my money. Somebody else gave it to me to give to them. So even the donations that they have revealed, the evidence is pretty clear. We don't exactly know where they came from.
When you think about the simple fact that in most cases an ambassador is not his or her spouse, can't say one thing out there. Not a speech would be out of the question,
right?
Because they want there to be absolutely no conflict of interest, and so they brokered this deal that allowed them to bring in unbelievable amounts of cash. You know, when I started to read the book, I was just, it pops out at you. $8 million a year in speeches.
Yes, exactly.
$8 million a year in speeches.
Yeah. And those go up, by the way, Martha, once Hillary becomes Secretary of State. Bill Clinton's speaking fees, big speaking fees from overseas interests, triple in a lot of cases. And I don't think that's because he suddenly became more eloquent. I think it's because those speech payments are really influence payments. They are trying to influence the Clintons to chart American foreign policy.
So you're obviously getting a lot of pushback now, and people look at it and they say, look, you can lay all this out.
Right.
But there's not a shred of evidence. And let's listen to John Podesta talking about this.
It's a book that's written by a former Bush operative who's a reporter for that august news institution, Breitbart.com, or has been in the past. He's cherry-picked information that's been disclosed and woven a bunch of conspiracy theories about it. The facts, there's nothing new about. The conspiracy theories, I guess we'll get to judge when we read the book.
So what do you say to the not a link, not a shred of evidence for an actual thing that took place in policy that was triggered by these payments?
Well, it's funny because he says that I cherry-picked the information. I didn't cherry-pick the information. We followed the money. We looked at the major foreign donors and we said, do these people, when they're making a donation to the Clintons, is their business before the State Department, and how does it end up for them? And what we find out is that it consistently ends up well. And that's the key thing. Obviously, in terms of a quid pro quo, we don't have access to emails, we don't have access to correspondence, but the pattern of behavior is overwhelming.
Yeah, and you make the analogy of insider trading. And by the way, you say this in the first few pages of the book, that you don't have, that connection, but that your argument, as I understand it, is that you are laying it all out there for people to read and see what they think.
Yeah, people can decide, are these dozens of examples just a series of coincidences, or is there something more to it? And I've, studied insider trading by members of Congress. I've looked at the way that they subsidize their lifestyle with political funds.
Which is also an amazing story, by the way.
Yes, and the reality is that I think sometimes there are coincidences, but when you see these patterns, these aren't coincidences, these are trends.
So what do you say to those who say, why now? Are you out to get her? Obviously, the timing of this is not fortuitous for her.
Yeah, we started this research project actually January of last year. So the publication date, I certainly didn't know if she was going to announce, when she was going to announce. So it's really kind of coincidence. The book's actually not out until next week. It's just sort of exploded on the scene. That certainly wasn't planning on our part. We just think that our public officials, Republicans or Democrats, if they are getting rich while their family members are in public office, we need to hold them into account. And the Clintons have been fabulously successful at becoming wealthy with public service.
Very interesting. Peter, thank you very much.
Thanks
Good
for
to have
having
you
me.
here today.
Thanks.